Number 18. Leroy Bram. 33-year-old Leroy Bram III of Chester County, Pennsylvania, allegedly encouraged his partner to get involved with another man, only to kill her in a jealous rage when she took up on the suggestion. According to prosecutors, Bram got tired of 21-year-old Annabelle Rose Meenan choosing other men over him. In a twisted attempt to convey his point, he beat the young woman on multiple occasions. Several of Bram's violent attacks were reportedly captured by the family's surveillance system at their East Vincent Township mobile home. Sadly, it was only a matter of time before one of these beatings escalated into murder. The fateful incident occurred one night in December 2021 when Bram beat Meenan to death. He punched her in the face at least 85 times and stomped on her head at least 80 times. In what could only be described as a gruesome grand finale, he ended the deadly attack by picking up a sofa and dropping it on top of Meenan's motionless body. To describe it as overkill would be an understatement. The medical examiner who performed Meenan's autopsy ruled that she died from cardiac arrest. According to the prosecutors who pursued a murder case against Bram, the victim suffered a prolonged and excruciating death. During Bram's trial, his defense attorney argued that the suspect saw red during a night of drinking and was provoked to lash out violently at Meenan. In February 2024, a jury found Bram guilty as charged. He was convicted of first-degree murder along with multiple counts of aggravated assault, simple assault, and reckless endangerment. While he is yet to be officially sentenced, the first-degree murder charge carries an automatic sentence of life in prison without parole. This means that Bram will never again be free to harm another innocent soul. Number 17. Rossy Dennis. Just days before Thanksgiving in 2021, a 60-year-old Texas woman named Rossy Dennis was accused of pointing a handgun at a woman in broad daylight outside a grocery store in Corpus Christi. The incident was at least partially captured on cell phone video. It originally appeared on Reddit along with a caption about how the victim's baby was in the backseat of the car when Dennis allegedly pointed the gun at her. According to reports, the incident began as a disagreement over a parking spot outside an H-E-B supermarket. Dennis was accused of threatening to shoot the young mother, who was identified in court documents as Diane Reyes, and other people at the scene. Footage of the confrontation was turned over to police, who arrested Dennis on suspicion of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. In December 2021, Reyes accused Dennis of assault and emotional distress in a lawsuit seeking $250,000 to $1 million in damages. According to the lawsuit, the defendant's SUV was sitting in the parking lot with no turn signal activated or any other obvious sign of what the driver's intentions were. Reyes drove around the vehicle, then stopped to let another car back out of a parking spot that she planned to use. Once the driver had vacated the space, Reyes parked the car there, at which point Dennis allegedly pulled up behind her and blocked her in. Dennis exited her SUV and approached the driver's side window of Reyes's car. Reyes accused the woman of banging angrily on her window and ordering her to exit her vehicle. In an attempt to de-escalate the situation, Reyes ignored Dennis, hoping she would eventually stop what she was doing and go away. In the meantime, a friend sitting in the passenger seat began filming Dennis with her cell phone. According to court documents, Dennis fled the scene when Reyes dialed 911. There have been no recent updates on the criminal or civil cases, which may still be ongoing. Number 16. Cristiano Pinero Deu. In what law enforcement described as a road rage incident, an angry motorist allegedly rammed his vehicle into another car in June of 2023 while driving on the President George Bush Turnpike in Plano, Texas. Later identified as 44-year-old Cristiano Pinero Deu, the enraged driver was also accused of pointing a gun at the other motorist after they both pulled over. A federal post office police officer witnessed the incident and detained both drivers until troopers from the Texas Department of Public Safety arrived at the scene. Following an initial investigation, law enforcement arrested Pinero Deu on suspicion of 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. At the time the story broke, the investigation was ongoing. There have been no updates since then, leaving the current status of the case unclear. Number 15. Terry Vetch. A Florida woman and her male friend were riding around together in a Palm Coast neighborhood in late May of 2023 when the driver used a stranger's driveway to back his SUV up and turn around. Barely a moment after the car pulled into the driveway, a man stormed out of the home yelling like a madman with a gun in his hand. Later identified as 60-year-old Terry Vetch, the homeowner had seen the car on his doorbell camera, which also captured footage of his explosive tirade. According to police, Vetch mistakenly thought that the car belonged to his neighbor, who he had a history of disputes with. In the video, he could be seen striking the vehicle's rear window with his gun while screaming, "You're a piece of s and get out of my effing driveway." The woman in the passenger seat exited the vehicle and approached Vetch, who appeared to point his gun at her head. By that point, it's likely safe to assume that Vetch had realized he wasn't interacting with his neighbors. But the aggressive behavior continued, and deputies were called to the scene. Vetch allegedly claimed that he pointed the gun at the woman because she approached his property while waving her hands in his face. But according to the woman, Vetch had pointed the gun at her and threatened to kill her. After viewing Vetch's security footage, authorities charged him with one felony count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without an intent to kill. He was released from jail the next day on a $50,000 bond and was ordered to have no contact with the victims amid the ongoing case. Number 14. Vincent Scavetta. During the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic in America, it seemed like people were either totally against mask-wearing requirements or completely for it. It proved to be a deeply divisive issue, sparking heated public disagreements and resulting in a surprising number of arrests. One particularly shocking altercation occurred inside a Walmart store in Royal Palm Beach, Florida, where 28-year-old Vincent Scavetta and another man got into an argument about mask wearing. Christopher Estrada was at the store with his daughter when he confronted Scavetta, who was pushing his elderly father in a wheelchair, for not wearing a face covering. In response, Scavetta allegedly pulled a gun from his waistband and pointed it at Estrada. The police got involved and Scavetta accused Estrada of hitting him in the head with an umbrella. He claimed that this was what prompted him to pull his weapon, which he had a permit to carry concealed. Scavetta further explained that he had taken his mask off as he entered the store because it was causing his glasses to fog up. It was an especially humid day, which also made it hard for Scavetta to breathe with the mask on. Estrada told a different story, claiming that he raised his umbrella only after being threatened by Scavetta. Police arrested Scavetta on suspicion of aggravated assault with a firearm and improper exhibition of a firearm. But prosecutors dropped the charges, stating that the evidence could not prove all legally required elements of the crime. In 2021, Scavetta sued the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office for defamation and malicious prosecution. He accused the agency of making harmful and malicious social media posts with the intention to publicly humiliate, embarrass, and shame. Scavetta is seeking at least $30,000 in damages from the PBSO and also filed a lawsuit accusing Estrada of battery. The case appears to be ongoing. Number 13. Charles Bass. A 40-year-old U.S. Air Force veteran named Charles Bass allegedly lost his cool during a road rage incident in late 2023 when he was filmed pointing a gun at a teenage driver in Surprise, Arizona. In the video, he could be heard berating 19-year-old Shiana Bamba for her driving and asking her if she wanted to effing die. Speaking with ABC5 after the terrifying incident, Bamba said that she had just dropped her siblings off at school when she was accused of cutting off a pickup truck while changing lanes. She pulled up alongside Bass at a traffic light and already felt fearful, so she began recording her surroundings with her phone. It was at that point that she captured the footage of Bass allegedly pointing a gun straight at her from inside his vehicle. Although Bamba was scared, she wasn't initially aware of the amount of danger she was in. As soon as she realized Bass had a weapon in his hand, she pulled away and called her mother immediately. Only then did it sink in that Bamba had just came face to face with a lethal weapon with the potential to take her life on a fraction of a second's notice. Bamba insisted that she had not cut off the irate motorist, but even if she had, she knew that it wouldn't have justified pointing a gun in her face and threatening to kill her. She turned cell phone footage of the incident over to the police, who identified Bass as the suspect. Bass was arrested by a team of local officers, U.S. Marshals, and Air Force members. He was apprehended on suspicion of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and other charges. At the moment, the case appears to be ongoing. Number 12. Jamie Saunders. In May of 2023, Irish Gardaí responded to a residence in Dublin and were met by a young woman with a split lip and a missing front tooth. The woman told them that she had attempted to have a civilized discussion with her boyfriend, 32-year-old Jamie Saunders, about her suspicion that he was cheating on her. She accused Saunders of responding to her request by flying into a rage and punching her in the face. After hitting his girlfriend, Saunders allegedly hid inside a van and refused to come out when Gardai arrived at the scene and tried talking to him. The victim also told the police that he sent her sister a text message threatening to kill his girlfriend. According to authorities, the Gardai forced entry into the vehicle to apprehend Saunders, who continued to act volatile and actively resisted being taken into custody. The officers accused Saunders of threatening to assault their spouses while they wrestled him to the ground and placed him in handcuffs. He also allegedly tried to bite and headbutt the officers. During a bail hearing in December 2023, the victim described several disturbing instances of abuse in addition to the incident that Saunders was arrested for. She claimed that on one occasion, the defendant had poured hot tea on her legs after threatening to scold her if she didn't shut up. The woman said that she was forced to quit her job because Saunders knew where she worked and she was afraid he would kill her. Saunders' attorney urged the judge to grant bail, arguing that his client deserved the presumption of innocence and that Saunders had agreed to cooperate with any bail conditions that were set forth. But the judge was unpersuaded by the defense and ordered for Saunders to be held in custody pending the outcome of the case. Number 11. Zachary Torrance. Before former Subway spokesman Jared Fogle landed in prison for being a creep, he was the poster boy for the restaurant's campaign to market its food as diet-friendly. Fogle lost 245 pounds in a year by eating Subway sandwiches on a daily basis, inspiring many to follow in his footsteps. But the diet apparently didn't work for everyone, and one Alabama teenager was so upset by the lack of results that he robbed 4 Subway restaurants over a 4-day span in 2014. According to police, 18-year-old Zachary Torrance got his hopes up about losing weight when he saw the Subway diet being advertised on TV. He tried it, but when he failed to see the same success that Fogle boasted about in the restaurant's commercials, he allegedly began robbing locations in and around Birmingham. Torrance may have missed a fine print disclaimer at the bottom of the screen about how the diet's results can vary and how the diet is supposed to go hand in hand with an active lifestyle. He was identified as the suspect in the robberies after law enforcement posted surveillance footage on social media. The footage appeared to show the suspect entering a Subway restaurant inside a Walmart supercenter and demanding cash from the register at gunpoint. Torrance was brought in for questioning about his alleged crimes. It was during this conversation that Torrance reportedly expressed his grievances with the failed diet. And while the young man's logic may have made sense to him, the police obviously did not agree that a failed diet justified committing robberies. Authorities charged Torrance with first-degree robbery and announced that more charges would likely come following an investigation into his involvement with the crimes. While the outcome of the case is unclear, records show that nobody by Torrance's name is currently serving time in the state prison system. Hopefully that means that he squared away his legal problems and has stayed out of trouble moving forward. Number 10. Angela Sila Fischer. Nobody enjoys being entangled in a love triangle, and it's only natural that these situations come with the potential to trigger severe anger from the parties involved. But the law requires people to keep emotions in check, no matter how justified their rage feels. A 42-year-old emergency room doctor from Houston was accused of failing to do just that in 2013. She allegedly broke into the home of a romantic rival and wrote "whore" and "homewrecker" on the woman's bathroom mirror in red lipstick. At the time, Angela Sila Fischer was married to a 43-year-old radiologist named Brandon Fischer, who she seemed to believe was cheating on her with a fellow radiologist. According to police, Sila Fischer was on her way to the home of 35-year-old Marcel Mallory when her husband called the woman and warned her about his wife's impending arrival. Fearing for herself and the safety of her children, Mallory left the residence with her kids in tow. She later told police that she received 2 profanity-laden phone calls from Sila Fischer, who allegedly threatened to dislocate the woman's private parts and beat her up. Surveillance footage from Mallory's home appeared to show Sila Fischer forcing her way inside by kicking in the doggy door. When Mallory returned to her residence, she discovered Sila Fischer's artwork on the bathroom mirror and some other strange things that were left behind by the unwanted visitor. Sila Fischer was arrested on suspicion of misdemeanor harassment and trespassing charge. And not surprisingly, the scandalous case quickly made national news headlines. Speaking with ABC7 shortly after the incident, Mallory's attorney, David Reddell, claimed that the three doctors were friends before the situation spiraled out of control. He said that Mallory denied having an inappropriate relationship with Brandon Fischer, but this apparently didn't stop Angela from believing otherwise. Reddell told the news outlet that there was still an opportunity for the fragmented friend group to make amends if they wanted to. The attorney went on to say that Mallory harbored no ill will towards Sila Fischer and that there was no us versus them mentality. Angela's lawyer, Rusty Harden, told ABC7 that his client felt the same way. Harden said that Angela regretted that the incident ever happened and felt embarrassed, and he thanked Reddell for the gracious comments. In early 2014, Angela took a plea deal and was sentenced to a year of probation. She was also entered into a pre-trial diversion program, which meant that as long as she stayed out of trouble for a year, the case would be cleared from her record. Number 9. Beno Neumeier. In early 2021, school teachers Peter Neumeier and Laura Perselli went missing from the northern Italian city of Bolzano. Laura's remains were later found in a local river bearing evidence of strangulation. Her husband's body was never recovered, but his blood was found on a nearby bridge. Police took the couple's 30-year-old son, Beno Neumeier, into custody on suspicion of his parents' murders. He allegedly confessed to killing Peter after being asked to get out of bed and walk the family dog. Beno refused and later claimed that he went to his room to avoid his father's scolding, but that Peter followed and continued to argue. At some point, Beno fell asleep. When he awoke, his father supposedly got on his case about not doing chores around the house, which was when Beno decided to strangle Peter to death. In a police interview, the cold-hearted son reportedly stated, "Dad accused me of being a failure. I just wanted silence, so I shut him up." When Laura returned home a little while later, Beno allegedly then strangled her to death, later admitting that he didn't even say goodbye before carrying out the brutal act. He also allegedly confessed to throwing his parents' bodies into the river. At Beno's trial, his sister refused to look him in the eye and testified that her brother is a serial liar. Over a year later, the family is still trying to heal from the deep emotional wounds that the selfish murder has left them with. Number 8. Michael Roberts. In March of 2024, 70-year-old Eagle Mountain, Utah resident Michael Roberts became fed up with a group of teenagers who kept targeting him during their games of Ding Dong Ditch. If you've ever had it happen, and you know that it truly is annoying to have someone incessantly ring your doorbell for no reason other than to run away and laugh at you. But Roberts became irrationally angry and took his revenge far enough to land in police custody. Determined to make sure that the teens never returned to his house again, the senior citizen allegedly exited his home with an airsoft gun that looked like a real weapon. He then fired it at the pranksters who were sitting in a car across the street. The projectile caused at least 2 noticeable dents on one of the kids' vehicles, and Roberts achieved his goal of scaring the kids. But there was one major problem. The kids that Roberts targeted were not the Ding Dong Ditchers, according to police. In fact, the pranksters hadn't even been to his house that evening, which only made Roberts' actions seem even more needless and unprovoked. Roberts also had to explain himself to the police, who determined that he hadn't broken any laws until he unwisely decided to fire the weapon. He claims that he didn't fire at the kids, but in the eyes of law enforcement, his decision to pull the trigger crossed the line. Consequently, he is now facing charges of aggravated assault and criminal mischief. Speaking on an episode of the Dave and Dejanovich podcast after the senior citizen's arrest, Utah County Sergeant Spencer Cannon said that he understood Roberts' frustration. He said that the police had been called out to the neighborhood several times in recent weeks in response to complaints about the Ding Dong Ditches. Local law enforcement had also increased its patrols in the community during the evenings, which seemed to be the teens' favorite time to strike. But no matter how annoying the kids were, Cannon said that Roberts had no right to respond to the situation by firing what looked like a real handgun at the teens. The outcome of the case remains to be seen. Number 7. Mohammed Abubaca. 39-year-old Mohammed Abubaca was visiting his son in Mankato, Minnesota in early 2021 when the boy's mother returned home from a McDonald's run with the wrong sandwich. Instead of buying a Big Mac like Abubaca had requested, she had accidentally bought him a Quarter Pounder with cheese. An argument broke out between the pair, and the woman asked Abubaca to leave her home. He allegedly refused, and the disagreement escalated. 911 dispatchers received multiple 911 calls about a disturbance at the residence, but they couldn't tell what was going on. But they could hear scuffling noises and a child screaming in the background, so they dispatched police to the scene. By the time an officer arrived at the home, Abubaca had fled. The victim told the officer that Abubaca had thrown her against a dresser and onto the floor. This caused her to fear for her safety, as well as the safety of her son. She also said that she caught Abubaca taking money from her purse, so she doused him with hornet spray. Police tracked the suspect down later that night and arrested him on 2 counts of domestic battery. Abubaca already had an extensive criminal record, which included prior convictions for domestic assault, aggravated robbery, and receiving stolen property. State records show that he is not currently serving prison time, leaving the outcome of the case unclear. Number 6. Judge Wayne Calver. Florida Judge Wayne Calver was overseeing court proceedings in Seminole County in 2022 when a man entered the courtroom and allegedly caused a disruption. 50-year-old Kevin Newton was trying to find a seat and appeared to be talking, prompting Calver to lash out at him. The judge asked Newton to shut up and sit down. Newton replied, "Absolutely, I'm trying to find a seat," to which Calver replied, "That's not shutting up." He threatened to hold Newton in contempt and asked him if he wanted to go to jail. Of course, Newton said no, and Calver responded by saying, "Then shut up." Newton's sister, Sabrina Newton, later told Fox 35 Orlando that she and Kevin didn't know where to sit because some of the seats were blocked off with tape as a COVID safety measure. The siblings didn't mean any disrespect, and Sabrina said that Calver's outburst made her brother afraid to speak in court out of a fear of retaliation. Calver apologized to Newton later in the hearing, but in Sabrina's opinion, it didn't make the judge's behavior any less unacceptable. According to the Florida Judicial Qualification Commission, Calvert had a previous outburst in early 2021. During the first incident, a suspect cursed in court, and Calvert allegedly responded with sarcasm and mockery. He was also accused of failing to follow due process by refusing to sign a judgment of guilt, failing to advise the defendant of their right to appeal, and unlawfully imposing multiple contempt sentences. Calvert's behavior landed him in hot water with the commission, which launched an investigation into the judge's alleged misconduct. In a report detailing the findings, the agency recommended a 60-day suspension without pay, anger management, counseling, and a public reprimand. In yet another alleged tantrum, Calvert was accused of yelling and swearing at a man as he entered the courtroom. During a hearing regarding the continued allegations of misconduct, an attorney for the Judicial Qualification Commission gave his opinion on the matter. He described Calvert's behavior as egregious, out of line, and falling far below the standard for how he should conduct himself in a courtroom. Calvert's lawyer admitted that his client acted in an unacceptable manner, but denied the allegation that the judge wrongfully found a defendant in contempt. According to the attorney, the defendant was taunting their victim, acting disruptive in the courtroom, and hurled a racial slur at the judge. The lawyer called several witnesses who testified that Calvert's actions were inexcusable, but out of character. During the hearing, Calvert admitted that he overreacted during his outbursts. He told the court that he had taken anger management classes and was in therapy, but the commission has yet to decide on an appropriate outcome. Number 5. Tan Tek Soon. 20-year-old Tan Tek Soon was a Malaysian welder living and working in Singapore in 2009 when he met his girlfriend, a 19-year-old waitress named Chong Ka Yin, who was also from Malaysia. The pair had been dating for 5 months when they got into an argument at a restaurant over an extra pair of chopsticks that Chong had asked Tan to grab. He refused, and Chong got upset and refused to speak to him for the rest of the meal, instead paying attention to her phone. Tan was infuriated by his girlfriend's preoccupation with her phone, and the couple began arguing again during their walk to her apartment. When they reached her 12th floor home, Chong told Tan that their tempers were irreconcilable. Taking the statement as a breakup, Tan apparently decided that he couldn't live without her, and that if he couldn't have her, nobody else could either. He shoved Chong off her balcony to her death and then jumped after he saw her hit the pavement. In an unexpected twist, Tan survived the plunge when some scaffolding broke his fall. While this came as no comfort to Chong's family, it at least meant that he would have to face justice for his alleged crime. He was initially charged with murder in connection to Chong's death, but he pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of homicide. This spared him from the death penalty, and he ended up receiving a 14-year prison sentence. Chong's mother told the Chinese newspaper Lian He Wan Bao that Tan never apologized for killing her daughter. Number 4. Sarah Harris. It's hard to believe that anyone would call the police with complaints about their illegal drugs, but it happens more often than you might think. In one of the more recent cases to make news headlines, 34-year-old Sarah Harris of Lawrence County, Indiana, was accused of calling 911 twice after getting upset about a bad batch of methamphetamine. Dispatchers answered the phone, but nobody responded, prompting them to send a deputy to the residence to make sure everything was okay. According to a probable cause affidavit, Captain Andrew Phillips initially spoke with 2 household members who denied making the emergency calls. A short while later, Sarah came outside and identified herself as the caller. She allegedly told Phillips that someone had given her bad drugs the previous day, which caused her to feel like she was having a heart attack. Sarah declined medical attention, but reportedly said that she wanted to report the person who had given her the bad meth. According to the affidavit, she admitted that she knowingly used the drugs illegally, but said that she wanted the substance tested and to press charges against the person she had obtained the meth from. Before moving forward with the conversation, Phillips told Sarah that she was not required to speak to him and that she could end the conversation and ask him to leave at any time. She chose to continue discussing the situation, stating that she had smoked a bowl of normal meth with the person who gave her the bad drugs. When she snorted a line of the meth she brought home with her, it caused an alarming sensation that made her feel like she was about to have a cardiac emergency. Sarah said that she also felt dizzy and like she needed to stand up in order to prevent her heart from stopping. She brought the remainder of the drugs outside and Phillips tested the substance at her request. It turned out to be normal, run-of-the-mill methamphetamine, and Sarah was charged with possession. According to the smoking gun, she already has prior convictions for theft, criminal mischief, disorderly conduct, resisting, operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, and methamphetamine possession. If convicted as charged, she could spend up to 30 months behind bars. Number 3. Joseph Tresselt. 32-year-old Joseph Tresselt was kneading pizza dough at his home in St. Petersburg, Florida on a Thursday evening in April 2024 when his roommate allegedly began making an irritating coughing noise. Tresselt thought 62-year-old Elvis Singleton was trying to annoy him, and he later told police that he also heard voices telling him how to make the pizza that he was trying to prepare in peace. Unable to contain his frustration, Tresselt threw a wad of his pizza dough onto the floor, then picked it up and whipped it at Singleton, who was seated at the dining table with his back to Tresselt. After hitting Singleton in the head with the dough, Tresselt allegedly went into his bedroom and broke a piece of his furniture. Singleton called the police and Tresselt was arrested on suspicion of misdemeanor battery and criminal mischief. He was ordered to have no contact with Singleton and is banned from returning to their home for the time being. In 2023, Tresselt was arrested for hitting Singleton for the same exact reason. He was annoyed by his roommate's coughing noise. Tresselt blamed the irritating habit for his decision to punch Singleton in the face, and prosecutors ultimately declined to pursue the case. Number 1. David Saunders. In September 2018, an armed unit of Irish Garda responded to a call about an incident at a bar in Dublin. It's unclear exactly what happened at the bar, but it involved an obviously drunk 29-year-old man named David Saunders. He was apparently standing on the roof of his nearby home and screaming obscenities by the time the police arrived. He had also removed his shirt and was half-dressed in a pair of track pants. Saunders allegedly continued the verbal tirade for over an hour while refusing to come down from his roof. According to police, he threatened to kill the Garda if they came near him and hurled roof tiles at the officers, who dodged the flying pieces of slate using a large ballistic shield. The raging suspect also stripped completely naked, with no shame for the fact that some of his friends and family members were watching the drama unfold from the ground nearby. At the request of a Garda negotiator, David's aunt, brother and a friend persuaded him to come down from the roof. He eventually calmed down and did as they asked, but he was in no condition to speak to the police, so they let him sleep it off and interviewed him the next day. After sobering up, Saunders admitted that he had drunk 7 bottles of wine and was high on several grams of cocaine during the bizarre tantrum. He said that he remembered nothing from the night before. However, he admitted that everything the Garda were telling him about could have happened. Needless to say, he was embarrassed when the police showed him footage of the disturbing outburst, especially after learning that he had damaged 2 cars during his intoxicated meltdown. Saunders was arrested for his actions and pleaded guilty to creating a substantial risk of death or serious harm to others. He wrote a heartfelt apology to the court, explaining that he struggled with addiction. He even received a good word from one of the Gardaí, who testified that Saunders was a completely different person the next day. But his actions were still serious, and the judge sentenced him to 3 years in prison for the crime. And now for number 1. But if you want to hear more bizarre and crazy stories, stay tuned after the video for some more content. Number 1. Michael Close. A Colorado man named Michael Close lost his cool one day in 2020 when he fired dozens of rounds at a couple walking their dog in Denver, killing 21-year-old Isabella Thallis and injuring her boyfriend, 27-year-old Darian Simon. Court documents claim that Close shot a couple from his apartment window in a fit of rage after seeing their dog defecate in the alley behind his building. He allegedly stole the high-powered automatic rifle he used from a friend who is a Denver police officer. He then messaged a friend after the incident admitting that he really effed up bad and that there is no going back from this now. Surveillance footage shows Close pointing the gun as Simon bends over to pick up the dog's waist. At the scene, a woman claiming to be Close's girlfriend named Chelsea Thompson said that she had tried getting the suspect to turn himself in after he called her and admitted to shooting 2 people. She told police which direction he was headed when he took off in his SUV, and they tracked him down a short while later. Thompson reportedly said that Close was mentally unstable the entire time she knew him, but when he tried to plead not guilty to first-degree murder and several other charges by reason of insanity, a judge determined that he was sane enough to understand what he was doing at the time. The judge said that he was competent to stand trial, which was then scheduled to happen sometime in the summer of 2024.
8. Mother of the Year. In April 2022, a disturbing incident unfolded in Laurel, Mississippi during a youth softball game for girls aged 12 and under. The game quickly escalated into violence when an angry mom supposedly punched the umpire square in the face after the match. The altercation took place on April 9th when Kiara Nichelle Thomas, a 32-year-old mother, started using foul language and verbally harassing umpire Christy Moore's calls as the game played out. Moore, who was 47, reported that Thomas threatened her repeatedly during the match. Eventually, Moore kicked Thomas out of the game. But the situation took a sudden, violent turn when, after the game finished, Thomas returned to the site and physically assaulted the umpire with a punch to the face before leaving the scene once again. After the incident, Moore posted a photo of herself on Facebook with a bruised black eye and expressed her frustration and disappointment with the situation. She highlighted the challenges faced by umpires in the league, especially in youth sports where they might face inexperienced or new officials. Moore then asked people to reconsider their negative attitudes toward officials and encouraged them to consider training to become umpires themselves if they can't handle the calls made. Thomas tried to evade arrest by leaving the scene the day of the attack, but a Parks and Recreation employee managed to capture her license plate number and vehicle details. Law enforcement then located and arrested her at around 7:18 p.m. on a charge of simple assault. It was also noted that Thomas happened to be wearing a Mother of the Year shirt in her mugshot, which is incredibly ironic. Christy Moore, a veteran umpire with almost a decade of experience officiating youth games under her belt, emphasized the growing trend of violence against sports officials. She pointed out that this issue extends well beyond softball and baseball, affecting officials in multiple sports. For Moore, the physical injury she received during the assault wasn't the most distressing part of the incident. Instead, it was the emotional impact it put on her own children, who witnessed her injuries firsthand and expressed fear for their mother's safety. Moore's experience serves as a reminder of the urgent need to address escalating aggression and violence directed at sports officials, especially in youth sports, to ensure the safety and well-being of every participant involved. 7. Dance competition. In June 2022, a dance competition at Borean Christian Church in Stone Mountain, DeKalb County, Georgia, took an unexpected turn when a brawl erupted involving children aged 9 to 14 and their parents. what was supposed to be a nice and friendly dance-off spiraled into complete chaos. Aliyah York, a 14-year-old participant, described the shocking turn of events after the fact, stating that she suddenly found herself on the floor, trying to shield her head from blows. Her mother, LaToya Carter, explained that a dance team from Savannah was responsible for starting the fight, emphasizing that it was initially intended to be a safe kids event, but turned into a disaster. Eyewitnesses reported that the fight was preceded by heated exchanges and taunts during the competition, ultimately ending in a full-blown brawl. In response, the church issued a statement, expressing awareness of the incident and saying that it was under investigation. They emphasized their organization's strong stance against any and all forms of violence. They also expressed the desire for all visitors to be able to attend peacefully in the future. This incident came after a similar one happened in Georgia, where a fight broke out during a youth basketball game in a church gym located in the Atlanta area. Although the DeKalb police didn't comment on any arrests made related to the dance brawl, there were several individuals taken into custody in connection to the basketball assault on a referee. The situation isn't only disheartening because of the lack of proper behavior in a public setting, but also particularly disturbing because it took place within a church. The community expressed their complete disappointment, questioning the behavior in such a holy environment. The parents and children involved are urged to deeply reflect on their actions. These incidents serve as a huge source of embarrassment for the churches affected. 6. Threatening the coach. In June 2019, an incident at a kids' baseball game launched a conversation about sportsmanship when a father was arrested for threatening the coach with a baseball bat after claiming that his children were not receiving enough playing time on the field. The event highlights the challenges that come up when parental expectations clash with the actual dynamics of youth sports. The confrontation happened at a youth baseball league game that was organized by the city of Roy, Utah, where volunteers typically serve as coaches. Tasha Lewis, a parent with 2 children in the league, acknowledged that while such extreme incidents weren't surprising, it was unfair to direct frustration toward the coach that day. Lewis emphasized that the coach, like many others in recreational youth sports, decides to donate their time and effort for the benefit of the children playing. The league's organizer chose not to make any comments on the incident, and Roy police declined interview requests about the matter. Nevertheless, Lewis commended the league for upholding its zero-tolerance policy toward disrespectful behavior. Throughout the league's history, there have been a few instances where both players and parents were asked to leave the field because of misconduct. But Lewis did note that in the current season, most participants displayed a more relaxed attitude. The father involved in the incident reportedly denied threatening the coach with the baseball bat at all. While acknowledging the frustrations parents may feel, particularly during the final game of the season, Lewis reiterated the importance of maintaining open communication. She suggested that the concerned parent could have approached the coach privately to discuss the issue, instead of resorting to threats or aggression. This incident reminds us of the critical role sportsmanship, communication, and respect constantly play in youth sports, where the primary focus should be on fostering a positive and respectful environment for young athletes to learn and grow within. 5. Jose Louie Mendes. In April 2023, a track meet that took place in Huerfano County, Colorado, took a distressing wrong turn when a fight led to a parent apparently trying to run over a student with a car. The incident happened at the RE1 Sports Complex near John Mall High School and resulted in the abrupt ending of the track meet. The Huerfano County Sheriff's Office got multiple calls reporting a man's dangerous actions, attempting to run over students who were attending events at the sports complex. Deputies quickly responded to the scene and were informed that the suspect was inside the parking lot of John Mall High School. In response, law enforcement cleared the parking lot of civilians and launched a search for the suspect, ultimately taking 42-year-old Jose Louie Mendes into custody with the help of Sheriff Bruce Newman and K-9 Sergeant Roman Hajar. After Mendez's arrest, officers began their official investigation. searching for any potential witnesses, additional victims, or accomplices in the area. A witness and an uninjured victim gave an account of the events that took place during the altercation. According to both the witness and the victim, the confrontation escalated after Mendes engaged in a verbal argument with the victim. Then, in a frightening turn of events, Mendes allegedly tried to run over the individual with his car. Fortunately, no firearms were involved that day, and there were no reported injuries stemming from the altercation. Mendes was arrested not long after and faced several charges in addition to having multiple county warrants already out against him. The Huerfano County Sheriff's Office praised the fast and responsible actions taken by parents, school staff, and visitors from the other schools who acted swiftly to ensure the safety of students involved in the track meet. The incident showed the importance of keeping a safe and respectful environment during school-related events, with quick intervention being crucial in stopping potential harm or escalation of conflicts. 4. Illegal move. In January 2020, a father from Kannapolis, North Carolina, named Barry Lee Jones, was taken into police custody and charged with simple assault and disorderly conduct after he decided to rush onto the wrestling mat during a high school match and tackle a student athlete. The incident took place during a wrestling match between a student from Hickory Ridge High School, where Jones's son goes to school, and a student athlete from Southeast Guilford High. Jones tackled the student athlete from the opposing team who was competing against his son that day. Luckily, the victim was reportedly not injured during the surprise incident. According to Fox 61 News, the altercation on the wrestling mat was brought on by the referee when he signaled that a move made by the SGHS student athlete was illegal, according to the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. Barry Lee Jones was then arrested and processed at the Cabarrus County Jail. He received a $1,000 secured bond as well. Officials from Southeast Guilford High School, including the wrestling coach and school's principal, declined to offer any comments on the incident, while the Guilford County School District was reached out to make a statement. Sharon Contreras, the superintendent of schools for Guilford County, expressed her disapproval over the incident, describing it as unfortunate and a reflection of society losing its common decency. She also mentioned that parents from the high schools involved in the incident had written a letter expressing their utter shock and appall, emphasizing that the actions of one parent did not even remotely represent the entire community. A statement was shared on behalf of the Hickory Ridge wrestling team parents, apologizing for the responsible party's unacceptable actions. The statement conveyed their disbelief and underlined that the parents' actions didn't align with the beliefs of the majority of parents or the HRHS wrestling program. They also extended their apology to the parents of the student athlete who was attacked. Leigh Hebbard, the director of athletics for Guilford County Schools, expressed his concern over the assault of the athlete. He also appreciated the apology from the parents and all of the support from the staff and families of the Hickory Ridge wrestling team who shared their concerns over the incident. 3. Basketball brawl. In November 1987, a fight between two adults during the All-City Preview basketball tournament took a turn, resulting in a brawl that led to multiple hospitalizations and arrests. The incident took place at Northwest Classen High School in Oklahoma City. The initial fight started between two individuals inside the gymnasium, but quickly spread to others, prompting police officers to step in and try to clear the area. Despite these efforts, the fighting continued outside the school grounds. The initial fistfight escalated to the use of knives as weapons, although it's unclear what triggered the altercation in the first place. Importantly, students weren't involved, and the fight wasn't racially motivated, according to several police statements. Approximately 42 officers were eventually called in to help disperse the crowd, which numbered around 3,500 spectators. One of the individuals involved in the fight was hospitalized with a stab wound to his left cheek, while the condition of the other injured victims remained unknown at the time of reporting. 20-year-old Anthony McCullough was taken into custody and booked into jail on a charge of incitement to riot. The injured fighter identified McCullough as his opponent in the scuffle. Additionally, at least 3 other adults, likely the parents of the children involved in the game, were arrested and booked on charges of disorderly conduct, although their identities were never disclosed in the initial reports. Notably, McCullough had been asked to leave the tournament on multiple different occasions, but he continued to return each time. This eventually led to his arrest. The brawl caused the cancellation of the game between Northwest Classen and Star Spencer High School, as well as at least 3 other scheduled games upcoming in the season. It's worth mentioning that Northwest Classen High School's athletic programs had recently been placed on probation thanks to a bench-clearing brawl during a football game against Mustang High School earlier that same month. During that prior incident, a Northwest player had allegedly hit a game official. 2 parents come to blows. In May 2023, an unfortunate incident highlighted the growing problem of parents engaging in physical fights while attending their children's events in the United States. This particular incident happened during a soccer match between Union and Ridgeview High School, and quickly escalated into a significant brawl among attending parents in the stands. Video footage was shared on the Fight Haven Twitter page, capturing the intense incident that unfolded during the high school soccer game. The initial spark for the fight was a verbal dispute that eventually escalated into violence, resulting in one of the most significant clashes witnessed in high school soccer, resembling something similar to WWE's Royal Rumble. According to reports from the Twitter account, which specializes in sharing fights that were caught on camera, the conflict started when parents from Ridgeview High allegedly directed racial slurs towards the parents of the home team. In response to this offensive behavior, tensions reached a breaking point, leading some home team supporters to resort to using violence. The local Virginia Sheriff's Office later confirmed that several injuries happened during the altercation, and that one individual, Donald Guarant, was arrested and charged with assault and battery. This incident serves as a troubling reminder of the importance of maintaining sportsmanship and civility, especially when children are in the picture. Parents are expected to set a positive example for their kids and promote good sportsmanship, instead of engaging in disruptive and violent behavior. 1. Caught on camera. In May 2018, an unfortunate incident scarred a semi-championship baseball game at a Central Indiana sports park when a fight between a coach and a parent erupted, leading to both adults being banned from the facility forever. The altercation went down during a game between the Cincinnati Flames and the Evo Shield Midwest Canes at Indianapolis Sports Park. A video of the brawl, posted on Facebook by a parent there that day, captured the moment when one man, who was identified as a coach from the Cincinnati Flames, approached another man while wielding a baseball bat. The footage also showed multiple adults yelling at others stepping in to separate the 2 individuals, all while children in the dugout watched helplessly. Kyle Scaringe, the manager at Indianapolis Sports Park, expressed disappointment over the incident, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a child-friendly environment in youth sports. He stressed that coaches aren't only mentors, but role models for young athletes. Luckily, no one was injured during the fight, and 911 was called before things spiraled out of control. While the incident was regrettable, it was noted by Fox 59 News that Indianapolis Sports Park had a pretty clean record over its 30-year history, with few events like this one ever happening. The video of the brawl quickly gained attention, receiving over 320,000 views in just one day. The park's management made it clear that there was no excuse for this behavior, especially in youth sports. The incident was under investigation by the tournament board, which would determine if any disciplinary actions needed to be taken against the involved parties. Despite the emotional nature of youth sports, the ordeal highlights the need to prioritize sportsmanship and maintain a respectful atmosphere for the sake of children and the community. The authorities were involved, but as of the police report, no charges had been filed by the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department.
Thanks for watching. Would you rather be known for overreacting on an extreme level or for acting like you have no emotions about things you should care about? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time. Bye.